The air in Scrooge's bedchamber did not grow cold, but thickened with a palpable, sorrowful weight. It was not a vision, but the ghost of Jacob Marley that appeared, fettered in the very chains of cash boxes and ledgers he had forged in life. He stood, a translucent figure of profound grief, dragging his metallic burden, and at his spectral feet, perched on a three-legged stool that materialized from the gloom, sat Tiny Tim. The boy was a husk, his breaths mere whispers, his eyes large and glistening with preemptive sorrow. "Ebenezer." Marley's voice was not a screech, but a hollow, desperate moan, the sound of a forever empty vault. "I come to you as a fragment of a friend, a memory of what could have been. I beg of you, look upon this child." He gestured a shimmering chain-wrapped hand towards Tim, who shivered. "Look upon the consequence that draws near. I implore you, for the sake of your own soul which yet flickers, change your course tonight. Be generous, be kind." Scrooge, seated in his high-backed armchair as if it were a throne, regarded the spectacle with icy detachment. His gaze flicked from Marley's anguished face to Tim's sad one. He steepled his fingers. "No," he said, the word calm, clean, and final as a stone dropping into a deep well. At the sound of that single syllable, Tiny Tim's pale lips, which had been pressed into a thin line of weary suffering, began to turn downward. It was a subtle shift, the birth of a small crestfallen curve that deepened the shadows on his thin face. Marley's chains rattled with a sound like sighing coins. "Hear me, Ebenezer, the time is now. Cast off the blinders of your heart. A small act, a mere pittance of your wealth, could mend this breaking life. It could redeem my endless wandering. I beg you, for the mercy you will one day crave yourself." Scrooge's expression did not alter. He examined a ragged nail on his right hand, then looked back at the spectral pair. His voice was devoid of malice, but also of all warmth, a simple statement of fact. "No." The effect on Tim was immediate. The initial curve of his frown intensified, pulling at the corners of his mouth with a more pronounced gravitational sorrow. It was no longer just a downward, it was a melancholy parabola, drawing his entire countenance into a deeper well of sadness. A single silent tear traced a path through the grime on his cheek. "You stubborn, wretched man," Marley cried, his form shuddering and setting his chains to a dismal jangle. "Can you not see? This is not about ledgers. This is about a human spark. One act of grace, Ebenezer, one moment of charity to snatch this boy from the brink. I am on my knees, Scrooge, begging you." Again, Scrooge met the plea with serene, immovable resistance. He shifted slightly in his chair, the fabric sighing. "No." Tim's face seemed to become a canvas solely for the expression of dismay. His frown evolved from a melancholy parabola into a tragicomic crescent, a vast upside-down arch of pure woe that dominated his lower face. His eyebrows drew together in a peak of such profound grief it seemed they might meet his hairline. The frown was now so large it appeared to strain his small jaw. Marley was becoming indistinct, his edges bleeding into the dark, the clanking of his chains growing fainter. "Think of your own name, Scrooge. Think of the legacy you forge this night. Will it be one of infamy, written in the tears of children, or one of last-minute redemption? I conjure you, by the memory of the partner you once tolerated, change. Change now." Scrooge sighed, a faint exhalation of boredom. He looked not at Marley, but directly at Tim's comically sorrowful face, as if studying a peculiar painting. His answer was the same. "No." The final refusal acted on Tim's features like a magic spell. His frown now achieved a state of operatic grandiosity. It was a colossal geological rift of sadness, a chasm of despair so wide and deep it seemed it might swallow his nose and chin whole. His lips trembled at the extremities of this vast downward span, and his cheeks were pulled forcefully by the sheer muscular effort of such monumental glumness. It was a frown for the ages, a masterpiece of pure, uncontested unhappiness. Marley's form was fading rapidly, dissolving not into smoke, but into a mere idea of regret, his chains the last to vanish, their ghostly rattle echoing. Then I am lost, and you are found only in your own desolation. Farewell, Ebenezer. You have chosen your chain. His voice was the faintest echo, the last rustle of a regret-filled wind. With one last pleading look that Scrooge met with placid indifference, the ghost of Jacob Marley entirely dissipated, leaving behind only a momentary chill that was quickly swallowed by the room's habitual frigidity. All that remained was Tiny Tim on his stool. He looked at the empty space where Jacob Marley had been, then his enormous, cataclysmic frown crumpled inward upon itself. The sheer architecture of his sadness collapsed into a raw human reaction. He did not wail or sob aloud. Instead, he cried in utter silent sorrow, his thin shoulders shaking violently, the great comic frown dissolving into a river of tears that streamed down his face, each one a perfect gleaming testament to Scrooge's unwavering, calm, and utterly decisive no. Scrooge watched the child weep, then leaned back in his chair, the ghost of his own very different smile touching his lips. He had remained seated. He had refused. He had won.